It's March 11th and this is episode 19 of Plane Savers Down Under. And today we've got a real treat for you, which is peeking out through the door, the restoration of the DC-2 to represent Uiver, the second place getter in the London to Melbourne air race. Here we are, DC-2 being fully refurbished. She was up on a pole, and the gentlemen here at the restoration group have kindly allowed me to come and visit them and have a look at this fabulous restoration work they are doing. Some of you may realise that Uiver was the second place getter in the London to Melbourne air race behind the DH-88 Comets, running a regular air route through Europe to Batavia and then on to Melbourne against a dedicated race aircraft. Here we are. This replica, or rather one in place of the original, which is back in Holland, has been sitting on a pole here in Albury and has now been taken down to be restored to its former glory. And the gentlemen here are doing a fabulous job. It's a great jig, isn't it? The jig here is really well done. Try and keep the glare out of it here. We've got a bit bigger chance with the inside this hangar. Here are the wings. The flaps. Tail fin, or rather the tail plane. The engine. And in a minute, while I haven't warned him, I'm going to be asking one of the boss here to give us a little bit of discussion about this aircraft and the work they're doing on it. And this is the gentleman here. Surprise, surprise, just that. Tell us a little bit about the aircraft and the work you're doing on it.
Okay, it's a DC-2, built in 1934. It was, initially it flew for Eastern Airlines in the US, up and down the East Coast, as we understand. In 1941, the aircraft was bought by the RAAF with 6 other DC-2s, and it was used in the war effort. They used it to train, we believe, signallers at one point, also for training parachutists. And later on, they cut a hole in the, or a larger hole in the side of the aircraft, put a cargo door in it, and they used it to transport engines from both Parafield and Essendon up to Batchelor. It was fitted out especially for that. In 1945, it had an engine failure on takeoff and damaged the aircraft, and as a result of that, it sat there and it never flew again. From there, it was bought by a small airline in Sydney. It sat up there for a lot of years, was basically cannibalised to keep the other DC-2s flying. In the late 70s, the Albury West Rotary Club purchased the aircraft with a view to setting it up outside the Albury Airport Terminal as a commemorative, a 50-year commemorative activity for the club. It sat out in the weather on poles for I think 16 or 17 years, and at some point the council deemed it to be unsafe, and they removed it from its poles and put it over the western end of the airstrip. it sat there for another 16 or 17 years, and over the years the council tried to get rid of it. They wanted to sell it and things like that, but the community uproar as a result of that was such that a trust was formed in 2015 with the purpose of restoring the aircraft back to its original condition. And so what you see here at the moment is a continuation of the restoration.
You've done a lot of work. There seems to be a lot of the panel work is already complete.
Yeah, mainly the control surfaces, the horizontal stabilisers, the vertical stabiliser, and some other bits and pieces, but as such we're only just starting on the fuselage now. We've had a 3-month period where we've moved from a much smaller hangar into our current facility, and that's taken up a lot of time. So in the next few weeks we'll we'll restart the restoration, and with better facilities and the right volunteers we'll continue on until completion.
It's great. It's looking fantastic, and I love the jig that you've put together. That's a fantastic jig you've made up.
Yeah, no, the whole idea is to keep the aircraft nice and straight and square, and it took us about 18 months to build that jig. When we transported it from the other hangar, we had the job of moving it over here, which was a job in itself. The thing is 18.5 metres long, and we used these wheels. We put 5 sets of trolley wheels under it, and we dragged it over here. It all worked particularly well, and it's currently in its place. It'll stay there until such time as we're ready to marry it up with the centre wing section.
Well, thank you very much for that. Go on,
Russ.
Is that Russ? Russ, the boss, he knows what he's talking about. I'm just the general dog spotty that goes around looking at aeroplanes and loving them. They've done a fantastic job here. The workmanship is really, really good. We could use a few of these guys up helping us with the Beaufort project, but I think they've got their hands full here for many years to come by the looks of it.
Yes, I know. It's a long-term project, and it's like all these projects, it relies very heavily on volunteers, and particularly volunteers with the right skills. There's quite a lot of damage, as you would have seen in the wing sections and also in the fuselage. I mean, after 36 years in the weather, the corrosion in it is reasonably extensive, but not to the point that it can't be repaired or replaced.
Well, thanks, Russ. I'll wander around and take some more photos if you wouldn't mind, and go from there.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Russ. I'll say goodbye before we head off. I don't want to keep you away from all that work you've got to do. There's something about the camaraderie of people in aviation, whether they're dedicated ex-military or civil aviation personnel, or just plain enthusiasts like me. They all want to talk, they all want to help. They are most welcoming, and they're all enthusiastic.
We're going to put them together.
And there's the centre section underneath the aircraft. Give you a good look. You don't often see this sort of detail. I don't want to interrupt the guys because they're obviously doing something that's quite important, and they're concentrating on that. So, but I can walk around here and give you an excellent look at some of the work. See, look at the corrosion here in the bottom of where the wheel wells are up here. They've certainly got their work cut out for them, but the workmanship that I've seen on those flying surfaces is actually superb, and that's where dedication and a desire to support history and bring it back to life Again, here's some more of the work that needs to be done up there. But that gives you a real good look at that centre section. Now we'll have a bit more of a detailed look at the wings. Now you can see they're not too bad. Obviously, surface-wise, it's a bit hard to tell, but actually they don't look too bad. Some cracks through there, you can see them on some of that. But in general, it doesn't look too bad on this in the surface area. Okay, down here we've got a bit of a different viewpoint of it. You can see the corrosion in here and the work that will need to be done through there and through there. But you can see they're going about it with a dedication to preserve this aircraft and bring it back to life, albeit as a static display, but a very historical static display. As I said, this aircraft came second in the England-Australia air race back, I think, in the Uiver did in 1932, and it was flying a regular air route. It wasn't a dedicated race aircraft like the Comet. It was just an ordinary airliner. And what happened was, towards the end of the race, they got into very heavy weather and difficulties, and the aircraft had to land here at Albury. And all the locals came out and lit up the, I think it was the showground or the racetrack, to allow the aircraft to land. At which stage it then flew on to Melbourne and still came second, with Roscoe Turner and a 247 Boeing coming in third. Actually, come to think of it, the race was held in 1934. You see some of the work that needs to be done down in here in the belly of the aircraft. But she's certainly, it's looking like an aircraft, and that's what counts, you know. You're looking at what's here. I'll try and stick the camera in places where you can have a bit of a look at what's happening with this aircraft. Now, this is not generally open to the public. I think, just like me, I wandered in, asked permission, and was welcomed with open arms. They were fabulous. I know there's volunteers here on a Wednesday and a Saturday, so you can come here and ask to have a look around. And I think as long as you don't detract the guys from their work that they're doing, they will be only too willing to explain their work. As you're aware, the hamburger door, and there's that freight door that was installed, or the opening for the freight door that was installed that Russ mentioned earlier. I will though point out that their work priorities may not allow time for you to visit and tour the hangar, but you can only ask. So here's an aircraft being brought back to life by a dedicated group
the grandson was here on Saturday, and I made sure.
Nice workshop, beautifully laid out, very keen, very professional, and I think we all know what this beast might be. Look at the workmanship in that. The tail cone of a DC-2. Excellent workmanship. There we go. The layout of the hangar is a credit to everyone here. Very professional. And I'd like to thank Russ and the guys for making me welcome and for the information support they've freely given. I thank them very much for their friendliness and just being a bunch of good blokes. Until next time.